Good morning, Wanda. You are the CEO and Chair of the Board of Directors for Next Step Development Corporation with over 35 years of experience in sales, business consulting, and leadership. I am excited to hear from you about the organization, also the mental health and affordable housing that you are providing, and also your insight on how we can all work together to address these issues that we are facing when it comes to homeless.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing great. So now what inspired you to form Next Step Development Corporation, and how did you get started on this mission?
In 2019, I was going through this contemplative process in my life. I knew I was about to hit the big milestone of the big 6-0 in a few years. And I knew that there was something I wanted to do different in my life. And so I decided to I really said it was a God thing. I woke up one morning and said, I'm going to retire at the end of the year. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need some time to figure it out. Been working since I was 18. And my boss was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. And so fortunately and unfortunately, the pandemic happened. COVID-19 happened, and it really allowed me some time to really think through what was important to me. And I kind of narrowed it down to three things. It was ending homelessness, mental health issues, addressing those, and working with young people. I love helping people develop their careers and things like that. And as I did my research, I realized that I could help end homelessness and help with mental health issues all in one thing. Yes. So my background is in consulting. So I had helped businesses understand their processes and understand how they got where they were and developing strategic plans. So that was what I did. So I spent about a year understanding what the issue was, particularly in our area, what people were doing nationwide. And then I said, I'm going to do a nonprofit. That's how I'm going to address it. I mean, it just all started to come together and started reaching out to people that I know. And they were like, we're in. So that's how I got started.
Wow, this is amazing. But I know that you said before that you were a consultant. Can you tell us a little bit more about that background?
Yes. So I worked for W.W. Granger for about 20 years. And they're an industrial distribution company. I was a sales leader at first, and then I moved over to a consulting division, and I spent 14 years doing that, had a team of consultants. And like I said, we went across the country, all types of businesses, looking at them and really doing process maps, understanding what your current processes are, and really trying to help them to streamline that. And I told one of my coworkers I spoke to last night, all of that background working with CEOs, CFOs, vice presidents of operations has helped me develop this company. Yes. Because a nonprofit really is just a business that has a different tax status. That's all it really is. So I spent time doing the back end work. And as I've talked to a lot of consultants in the business themselves, they were like, wow, what you're doing, we're trying to convince people to do 5 and 10 years into their nonprofit. My mind doesn't work that way. My mind for 14 years was get it right from the beginning. So that's what we've been doing for the past 3 years, is getting it right from the beginning. And now we're in the process of looking for land and making sure that we have the processes and the resources in place to be successful.
I think that that's one of the best ideas, especially when I read about how you want to create the homes. And as I think it's amazing because it's in almost, well, I say almost, actually, let me go back. Every single city in the United States, you will find homeless. And it's sad because you see them sleeping in the cold weather outside. No one cares about them. And sometimes you see them get kicked out of the stores. And I've seen it happen before. Even they just want to buy something. And it's sad.
And that was, funny. It's not funny, but that's what was the kind of driving force for me, because in those 14 years, I traveled throughout the United States and Puerto Rico. And I would get off the exit ramp from the airport and head to my hotel and seeing encampments of hundreds of people underneath an underpass. And I was like, you're okay with this? Because in Raleigh, where I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, I didn't see that level of homelessness that I saw across the country in cities like LA and The numbers in LA County are
Oh my
something like
goodness.
70,000 people. They're sweeping streets, getting people off the streets. And I was like, how, as a nation as rich as we are we okay with this? And yet we send money to other countries and say,
Jeez.
oh my gosh, they don't handle poverty well. Well, I'm like, we don't handle it quite well either. And so that's what really drove me to say we can fix this problem with homelessness, because it really isn't an issue of people not working or not wanting a job. It really is a housing issue, affordable housing issue. That is what the problem is. It's not a drug issue. It's not a mental health issue. It is a housing issue, and we can fix that.
Exactly. And I think that the drug part, and it's end up playing a part of it, is because look at it this way. You don't have a place to live. You're stressed. You don't know how to get out of it. So what do? Mm-hmm. You try to find a way to forget about it.
Exactly.
And now also, even with the pandemic hit, you're looking at apartments. It's crazy. You can't find an apartment for even $500, even if it was a studio. So how can someone afford anything if they're all homeless and they have no money? It's impossible.
And they have no ID to go get the job, because when whatever they had and whatever they have, they are taking it with them day by day. So many of them don't have IDs, don't have social security cards. And the other thing that I will say is that many of them are working. Okay. So the thing of ending homelessness is an assumption that the people are not working. They're homeless, or people, we call it experiencing homelessness, because they are not homeless. They're not. I'm an African-American woman. That's my title, I guess you would say, but they are not homeless. They're experiencing homelessness for a time period. And one of the things that I'm finding as I research this more is that we don't even know the total number of people who are experiencing homelessness, because if you're couch surfing, you're sleeping on your couch in your friend's house, you're doubling up with your auntie, you're technically homeless because you don't have a permanent address. We call these people unhoused, people who may not have a permanent address because of what you and I just discussed, not being able to go get an apartment with a friend. Here in Raleigh, where I live, which is the capital city, the average one-bedroom apartment is about $1,500 a month. So all essential workers that we depended on during the pandemic, who were dropping off food, we had the signs in the yard, thank you to our essential workers. Even nurses can't afford an apartment. I mean, these apartments are more than our mortgage payments are. So it's an issue of how do we get rid of the stigma of folks that we see on the street as homeless, or those who are experiencing homelessness, and figure out a way that we can get them into affordable, efficient, safe housing.
Not something that the issue is that even when they get the help from the government, is that, oh yes, you get them to a place, but they still need to pay part of it, or most of it, or sometimes all of it, because you just pay for them to move in. But the job they get can't afford that. And plus they have to eat, they need clothing. If they have kids, and they have to take care of the kids. And sometimes people also have dogs and they don't want to let go of their animals because they want to keep that. So all of this are extra monies that's coming in if they need to take the bus or whatever's happening in their life, and then putting them in the place is one, but how are they going to pay for it is the other issue.
And it's funny. Yesterday, I had a conversation with, I had a procedure done yesterday, and I had a talk to the X-ray tech, and she was talking about the fact that she and her husband have good jobs, is what she said. And she'd gone through one of those budgeting classes, and they had budgeted $1,000 a month for all the food, toiletries, paper towels, tissue, all of that. And she says, "Oh my God, we blow through that now in like 2 weeks." If you think about how we're buying those products, you and I, every day, I can go to BJ's, I get a big thing of toilet tissue. And I was like, the space that it used to fill in my garage, I'm like, wait a minute, that used to be this much space. It's like this now. So everything that we're getting is smaller. Okay. The budget that we had before is not going as far. You're opening up something that used to be 16 ounces is 14. but yet they're keeping the price the same. So all of those issues that we're dealing with, think about if you're on and I really say it's fixed income or $15 an hour job, you'd be happy to have, but a $15 an hour job and you're still paying $900,000 in rent. But now your other expenses, your gas bill, your food bill, all that has increased. And I heard the other day a statistic that there's, it's like upward of 30 to 40% of people are having to get a second gig in order to make their ends meet. There's a waiting list in our area for people to even get on Instacart, because so many people are trying to do a second thing. And so my hope is that we will work collaboratively with the government entities that you talked about how they can help us develop affordable housing. If they can get a voucher, great. But if not, keep the rent so that they can afford it. But not have it, as you mentioned, not have it. So if you need a dog for comfort, I'm going to let them bring a dog in. The kind of housing that we're doing for individuals. We're not doing family housing. And one of the reasons that we decided to do that is that the vast majority of the people that are experiencing homelessness in our area are individuals. And sadly, nearly 50% of them are African-American men. And so that took my heart just was dropped because I thought, what a disintegration of the Black family. We're talking about that. Not saying all these men have children. But again, here they are without shelter. The first thing that you need to have in order to feel safe is to have, that's a human right, is to have housing. And so that's what we're going to do. And we're doing what they call supportive housing. So all the things that you talked about, we're going to help you with budgeting, job skills. If you can work, if you need Social Security, we're going to help you get that for disability. Many, if not most, if not all, are experiencing some sort of mental illness.
Yes.
PTSD. Can you imagine every day packing up everything you got?
And you don't take a shower?
Every day. Rain, sunshine, beating somebody to the shelter at night because it's, cold. They have what they call white flag warnings in every city. So when it does drop below 32, they open up churches and all that kind of stuff. But imagine tomorrow morning, though, I got to get up. Got to go find somewhere else warm to stay because they're not going to keep it up. Yeah, I'd be traumatized. And the drug epidemic that is happening, this is only going to get worse. It's just only going to get worse. So we're going to take you as you are. We're not expecting you to be off drugs. We're not expecting you we're taking you as you are because you deserve a place to stay and providing you the services that you need to restore your life.
I love what you just said. We don't need you to go fix yourself first. Because fixing yourself requires a lot more than people think. And it doesn't happen overnight either. It's like when you drink soda, you decide, I need to stop drinking Coca-Cola. But trust me, you're not going to stop drinking Coca-Cola in 2 days. It's going to take you years because you've been doing it for a very long time. And it's the same thing for homeless or anyone else. And I love what you said. We're going to bring you in and we're going to help you fix yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you are done, you're going to be the person you were before you get in here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And even if it's something, that has, when we talk about mental health, and you were talking about that earlier, which is such homelessness is a mental health crisis as well. It affects so many people. The folks that right now that are experiencing it, they estimate it's like $40,000 that it costs a year in mental health issues that they go to the hospital, in our law enforcement having to go and move them or arrest them. Some of them want to be arrested because at least I got a warm bed and some food tomorrow.
Yes.
They know they know the recidivism. They know the repeat offenders. They know them by name, so there's all these systems that are affected by this. COVID really brought that to light because it was like, oh my gosh, we got these people in congregate situations that we have no idea about their health issues. Now we're finding out if you're obese, if you have mental health issues, whatever it is, you are really going to get COVID worse because of some of these issues.
Yes.
So now you got these people who are just on the street who will come into that McDonald's or go into the restroom, or whatever, that may have COVID but didn't get tested. And even if they did, where were they going to isolate to?
In the
So
street?
they put them in hotels. They did all this kind of stuff. So if COVID didn't stir up in us a desire to do something to end homelessness, I don't know what will. And for us, what we're looking at doing is innovative housing. We just don't want to do the same old build an apartment complex, brick and mortar.
Yes.
We're looking at doing tiny houses. And so we're talking about tiny houses, not pods, not a bathroom. We're talking about 300 and something square feet, which is about the size of the average hotel room, with their own bathroom, with their own kitchen, where they can live. They're not going to go to some campground bathroom. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's not the model that we chose. And we're going to put them in a small community of 10 to 20 homes so that they can still be in community. Because, that encampment that you and I just talked about of under the embankment of an overpass, it's a community. They know, hey, Wanda, y'all seen Wanda? I ain't seen her in a couple of days. There's a community going on. So they still need that community environment. And so what I want to make sure that I'm teaching my board members and that I am advocating in the community, I am not developing a community of homeless people.
No.
I am developing affordable housing, and those people who used to be homeless now have a home. So all I'm doing is creating I'm not bringing homeless people to your area. I am creating affordable housing.
I don't see it that way. I don't see it that you are bringing homeless because when you have a home, you're not homeless because you have a home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's not like they're gonna go sleep under your porch or something like that. So they're not homeless. They have a home. So they have a place to clean up, to wash their clothes, to cook their dinner, to hang out, to talk to other people. They're no longer homeless.
They're no longer homeless, and we intend to help them restore, like have restorative areas like meditation, areas where they can sit and hear water. For me, that's something I have to do every day, and we talked about doing a garden, and it may even be a community garden where they can actually sell that. One of the things that I talked to one of my nephews the other day, who's experiencing some mental health challenges as well. He's a brilliant young person. He is a great artist. And I was like, what if we actually had an area within our community center where they could sell their art? People like him that, have crafts that they could do where they feel like I am contributing something. And they actually are going to have a resident, I don't want to call it like a HOA, but where they are accountable. Like maybe the right side has to do the lawn, the even number weeks and, or whatever, but somehow you're responsible in the community. It's just not somebody gave you a place to stay because they will pay rent, whether it's through a voucher or some sort of, program, but we want to have them involved in the community. And we're going to, I just am 1000% confident that this is going to take on, because when you're talking about a smaller footprint, I don't need acres of land. I could do a half acre and put 10 houses on a half acre, 300 square feet, so that's what I'm trying to do. And just trying to get rid of the stigma of the people you see at the corner, all being, as you and I mentioned at the beginning, oh, well, I'm not going to give them any money because, they're just going to go use it on drugs. Just like you said, well, some of the drug addiction that is going on is mental health issues. Some of it is we created it with the opioid crisis that's going on when we doctors, I'm not a doctor, but they were writing prescriptions for anything that happened. And then these people got addicted and now we're talking about them. I personally have anxiety. That's a mental health issue. I tell people all the time, I'm like, what? I got anxiety. What? I'm not anxious. I'm the one helping people. And then my doctor's like, you're not? I was just like, I'm anxious. It's like you thinking about the future and what's going to happen and how do I fix this and how I'm going to help mom and how I'm going to help that person is anxiety. And I had to come to the reality that,
wow,
oh my gosh, I have a mental health issue. So that really made me think it's not just the people that you see talking to themselves and all that. And those folks probably need to honestly be in some sort of mental health institution. I am going to help those that are really capable of living on their own. I mean, I couldn't take that person that was, that really just can't live by themselves and may burn themselves up in a home or whatever. These people that I'm talking about are capable of living on their own if they were given the right chance. And then, those people who are advocates for mental health that need to have better care, more long-term care. There are other people who will do that. I've decided to bite this chunk off. I can't do it all. This is the chunk that is mine to do.
Exactly. And also one thing I wanted to say, you can't change everyone on earth. Like, even if you go read the Bible, God couldn't. Jesus couldn't. None of the prophets could. No matter what they did, they couldn't. Actually, we end up killing them instead. So you can't change people. Some people, they are going to believe whatever they want to believe. Mm-hmm. But what you are put in this world to do, that's your mission. Mm-hmm. And you have to do it regardless of what they think about it. Mm-hmm. And as long as you're not hurting anyone. And what you are doing is you are taking these people that get beat up in the street because they're homeless, that people looked at them like they are nothing. And some of them were top. They probably was a CEO of a big organization that get fired and lost it all. So some of them are smart people that just need a hand to get back to the normal life.
That's right.
And that is amazing. And anything else anyone else said to you said, I appreciate your advice and I hear it, but I'll pass for right now.
Yes. Absolutely. And that is confirmation for me. When I tell you that is confirmation that you just gave me, because I just had this conversation with someone about, people telling me, oh, you should do, and you need to do, and how about go over here and y'all should, I'm to see everything right now. The chief operating officer, the chief executive officer, the chief marketing officer is Wanda. And I know I'm going to stay in my lane. And I have this thing, what we did in business that we called scope creep, which means this is the mission and the scope of the project that we're working on. And when people bring other things in and you try to go over there, you're creeping away from what the original mission and goal is. And I have to keep my board members and myself focused on the original mission, developing tiny house communities for those experiencing homelessness. All that other stuff is not my lane. I'm not going to be a street ministry person. Honestly, to tell you, Nagilia, I can't be the street ministry person. My heart is too big. I just cry when I see people, when I look at stories online. I looked at a story the other day online about LA, and this man was 61. I'll be 60 in April. He was a paralegal living on the street. He had lost his job. They told him he was, well, you're 61. How many more years you got to work? And so what he does now is some pro bono work, and he does some contract work living on the street. Okay. And I was like, this is crazy. This man is a paralegal. He said, I can't find anything that I can afford. They told the story of another young lady who was sitting on the concrete, the little side barriers on the street. And this organization, SELA, was distributing like kits to clean yourself up, like toiletries and food and water and information. And they asked this young lady, something said to this man, it was God, go over there and talk to her, because she was just sitting there by herself. Nothing, no tent, no nothing. And he asked her what had happened. Does she need any water? She said, yeah, I'll take it. And he said, are you okay? And she says, not really. And he said, well, what can we do? And she said, I was evicted 2 days ago from my home. And I didn't realize this till I saw a movie the other day, because I try not to look at stuff like this, that they give you like minutes to go in the house and get what you need and get out. What? And then they put your stuff. Yeah, minutes. The sheriff tells you to go in, get your, license and your papers. And then they start putting your stuff out beside the street. And she said, my stuff was put out beside the street. I have nothing. And the man was like, what? So she says, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Like, she was really in PTSD shock mode that I've been put out of my house. I'm not supposed to be homeless. I don't even know where I go. Yes. And so they gave her information to get to the right resources where she could go to at least a women's shelter, get some support and help. But this little girl, I say little girl because they said she was in her 20s, and, like I said, she could be my grandchild. And she was sitting there like, I don't know what to do. And this gentleman said, that thing right there is what drove me to know this was a mission that I was supposed to have because everybody was passing her by. She wasn't
Yes.
the person in the tent or had a grocery cart. She was just sitting there and something told him to go over and talk to her. So all those stories like that, I know that I'm not the street ministry person because, honey, I'd have been in that checkbook. I'd have been getting her a hotel room. I'm going to be broke. I can't talk to people every day like that. That's not my ministry.
Yes.
My personal ministry is administration. And so I know that that's a gift that I have. And so that means I get things in order. And that our organization is not a Christian organization. That's my personal belief system.
Yes.
Okay. I believe that. I believe that it's my job to help to feed people, to clothe them, to house them. And that's what drives me every day.
And that's all that's matter. Because at the end of the day, when you pass on to this world and then the next generation take it over, that mission continue because that's what you wanted to do. And that's what you are doing. You can't do everything in this world. It's like you said, I'm going to help women do everything on earth. It's impossible. I can't do that. I can only help in one specific area and I have to leave the rest for someone else to do. And I think that your mission is one of the best because I haven't seen it and I haven't heard it before. And if this can go throughout the United States, can you imagine how big this will be?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 And that's our goal.
Can you imagine if that paralegal can come in and apply and get a place to stay? Can that little girl, 20 plus years old girl, come in and say, I need your help?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is what we need in this world. We need that because people think that homeless are people who has no life. It's not true.
Mm-mm. 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 And it's just getting worse. It's just getting worse. It's just been, the pandemic has made it worse. But I also think the mental health crisis that we're seeing right now with our young people, especially on college campuses, is going to create an even greater need, not only for mental health, but also for places for them to stay. Because it actually here in North Carolina, we have some of the best universities. I went to the best University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. But we have a lot of great universities here, and it is a crisis here. Yesterday on the front page of the paper, they have put together a commission to address the mental health issues on our college campuses with the young people who are committing suicide, who feel helpless. We got to figure out what happens because you know where they're going to end up? They're going to end up at my door.
Yes, exactly. And what about if we can stop them before that even happen?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So now my question for you is, when do you plan on launching that program?
Yes. Our goal is by the fall of this year that we will be putting a shovel in the ground. We're looking at land right now, which of course, any major city is fighting for a plot of land that opens up. And so that's what we're looking for right now. That's our urgent need that we have. There's property that we're looking at. And once we get that, we have some partners that are building partners that we're looking at. One is a traditional stick-built partner, but they only work with nonprofits. So they have everything that I was going to have to get multiple people to do. They have that. Architects, designers, construction managers. I was like, thank God I found these people. But we also have another company that we're looking at that builds 3D homes. They can build a 3D home for me in a week. Okay.
Wow.
So now we're looking at that as well, based on zoning. So, you got to deal with all these different departments, but those are the types of homes that we're looking at, innovative, sustainable homes. Cause I still want to be good to Mother Earth as well. And so, I would prefer to use things like container homes or 3D homes where we can use what we already have out here. There's no need to cut another tree down. When there's other ways to do that. So that's what we're looking for right now. So my prayer and hope and our goal is that by the fall of 2023, we will be breaking ground on our first community.
Wow, this is awesome. And will that also be opening for people to start applying? How will that system work itself for them to get into one of these homes?
Yeah. So no, we probably won't be accepting anyone until the 2024, but the thing that is going to be really good for me, actually, and for the organization is that we are working with some county and other nonprofit agencies that already have people who are in transitional state. They've gone through programs to learn how to budget. They already have a case manager and they're waiting for a place to stay. So I'm working with those two agencies so that once we have a home available, they'll be able to bring these folks into the homes. What that does for me is that initially we had budgeted for case managers. We don't have to do that now.
Yes.
There are already organizations that are doing that. And that's the part about planning. That's the part about doing your research beforehand, before you launch anything, because we would have been budgeting. Now our budget would have been out of the water with all this FTE or head count. We don't have to have that head count now. Someone else has already done that work. So that's the collaboration I was talking about earlier, is you don't have to do it all. I'm going to develop the homes. I have someone else who's going to be working on, case management of the folks, and also making sure that they have the vouchers and mental health access. I'm staying in my lane. They're doing their lane. And now we can work together to get these folks whole again.
Yes. And then what about all the, when you're talking about the development of the home, especially the nonprofits, they work only with nonprofits, especially that company. Are they gonna be donating all of the services, materials to you for free, or you're gonna have to raise money to be able to build the home itself?
Yeah, we're going to have to now. So we're going to get some sponsorships and some in-kind services for some of the materials that we're going to need for the homes. But we're budgeting for the homes to be completely built with our dollars, and our dollars meaning our donated dollars. So we have a major campaign going on right now, looking for sponsors, major sponsors in the area. We've applied for grants. We have not actually applied for any federal grants yet. A lot of people's like, oh, there's a lot of money out there. Well, the federal government is not going to give a lot of money to someone who just started 2 years ago and really doesn't have any property yet. So we're holding off on some of those types of grant, but our city and our county agencies, we're looking at grants with them. But again, our biggest thing is going to be getting community support by getting our local large businesses here. And we have a lot of large corporations, major headquartered corporations here, a lot of startups. Those are the people that we're targeting to try to engage them into how do we fix this problem with people who may even be working for you.
Yes. But another thing that while you are talking that hit my head, my tiny brain, is when you are welcoming them into that home, is it fully furnished or they need to furnish it themselves?
No. They're coming in. They have everything. It's going to be fully furnished. It's going to have all of the soft goods, the towels, the sheets, all of that is going to be there. They're coming with their stuff that they had with them and putting it in the closet. And in our community center, we're going to have other things they may need from time to time. That's where the washer and dryer will be. But, all of the things that they would need for laundry detergent and all that extra food, because unlike what a lot of people think, and the young lady that I was talking to yesterday thinks this, my brother happens to be disabled, and my brother gets $87 a month in SNAP benefits, which is the old food stamps.
Well, how much did you say? How much did you say?
$87 a month.
Let me explain something here. The other day, I went to Costco, and Costco was out of eggs. So like, oh, I need eggs, but Costco doesn't have eggs. So I have to go find eggs. So I end up in a Walmart. I spend about $85 with eggs and milk and two other things I pick up. So how do exactly $87 going to feed you in a month?
Thank you. That's what I said. I said, so you assume that these people, and I'm air quoting for those who might not be seeing me, these people are getting all of this money every month to buy food. No, they are not. No, they are not. If you are a man, you are not going to get a lot of money. Yes, they got extra during COVID, but now he gets $87 a month. Wow. And if you got this little 8% increase in your Social Security disability at the beginning of the year, then you get 8% less in your food. See, folks ain't going to let you get ahead. I just want people to realize you need to get behind the system and understand the system isn't designed to make sure you're getting ahead. So people like us have to make sure that we help in whatever way we can and understand that people that might be going to the food bank may be getting SNAP benefits. They're not all people who just work every day, but thankfully he has family and an insurance plan, one of the Medicare plans that gives you food on a card, food That's how he's sustaining it. So I keep telling people he can't work. He's on disability. He cannot work. Where do you find those other avenues? And these are the people that are depressed, even in a place to stay, because thank God he has a place to live. But because of the discounted rate that he gets for the place to stay, therefore you're going to get less in your benefits for your food. It's just like this hamster wheel thing that people feel that they're on, and you wonder why folks are depressed and PTSD.
End up in drugs.
Yeah, so that's why I just really encourage the listeners, anybody who's listening to the program, is before you throw the shade or before you make some assumptions about the person that's sitting at the street, I would just go visit your local shelter, volunteer in an organization to feed people on the weekend, and sit down at the table and talk to the people and ask them, just can I ask you what happened? How did you get here? What's going on? I think America would change their total opinion about who is experiencing homelessness today.
Yes, and also I felt like our system is designed to keep us, once we get in, we can get out,
Yeah,
which is bad.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast last night by Matthew Cook, and he was talking about Dr. King, and I love Dr. King was talking about, and this, you think about this is nearly 60 years ago, about people saying, well, you just need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And you and I did that, went to college, did all that stuff. And he was like, well, it's difficult when you're telling a man that who never had a pair of boots, who doesn't have any boots to pull themselves up by, which is, really a system that is designed for poor people. And he wasn't just talking about Black people, but poor people in general, that he was campaigning for 60 years ago. And here we are still talking that same thing 60 years later about why are we still such a nation that looks down on people who we call poor, who still may be the working poor, but we don't do anything to help them. And so I'm not, this is not a government, condemnation or whatever. I think it's a societal thing that we just have got to change our minds that there are a lot of people getting help every day. Believe me, I'm a nonprofit. And one of the things that as we do our taxes, there's a different tax status that we're dealing with. But there's a lot of corporations who are probably going to pay no taxes like I am.
Yes.
So we've got to look at the balance of how do these organizations use their clout, their funding to support their workers and to support fair wages, but also the fair and affordable housing.
And I think also that if all these big corporations can put together, instead of saying that they are helping, to actually really, really, really helping, and that will make a huge difference. They don't have to start their own. Sometimes they try to start their own what about just helping the local nonprofits? There's actually no problem within that community that can fix it. Like, for example, what you are doing. I think it's the best way to go. And also that I know I spoke with one lady not too long ago, and she was talking about how laws help remodeled her entire building because she also helped youth. And it was kind of very interesting, perhaps something that's maybe the programs also can help you, because they were able to come and not build it, but they remodeled the entire building itself with everything that she needed it, which was very interesting that to see they did that. So perhaps that's something also. I'm not sure if it's in your state, but for me, in that stage where you are and with what you are trying to accomplish, it's important because it's not how do I say that? You're not helping homeless that just laying there doing nothing, but you're helping the people that's actually, some of them, they have a job. They have things they do every day. But at the end of the day, they have to go look for a shelter to sleep because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
And you are making the impossible possible, because right now, apartments, you can't find one. Long time ago, you used to be able to find one for $500-$600, but now you can't find that anymore.
No.
And somebody that's just lost a job and freelancing here and there to try to stay alive might not be able to afford this $1,500, $2,000 apartment. And what's the best way to go to be able to say, hey, here we go, I can help you. Perhaps 2 years from now, they might not need your help anymore because they get themselves together, and then they'll come and shake your hand and say, thank you for helping me. But now let me pass on that location to someone else who needs it.
Absolutely. Someone said that to me the other day, because I do these talks about the butterfly effect. And that's exactly what you're talking about. The butterfly, they're flapping their butterfly wings. They're moving on to something else. And then we never know, like you said earlier, 10, 15 years from now, they're a big CEO or they're doing something and they say, has somebody not gotten me off the street 10 years ago and allowed me the time to turn my life around, I wouldn't be able to do this right now. And now generations in the future are being affected by what we're doing today. And that's just flapping those butterfly wings. It's just, hey, that little butterfly, and I forgot, gosh, the name of the author. I'm seeing his face, but he has a book called The Butterfly Effect. And I do trainings on that. I did trainings when I was in corporate. And basically they talk about the butterfly, when it flaps its wings, can create tornadoes across the globe because of that effect. That little butterfly flapping the wings don't even know. He doesn't know that he's affecting that. And if we do that same thing, the work that you and I are doing right now, we don't know, like you said, when I'm long gone, that someone will say, that lady Wanda, when she did this, this is how it affected the change in the world going forward. And I'm not doing it for me. Doing these things like this where my name is in the lights, I tell people that's very uncomfortable for me. It's all about next step development. But I am the voice of next step development. And if I don't get out and sell it and educate and advocate, folks are still going to be staying up under the underpass or on the doorstep or, getting money every night to go stay in a hotel room. So I appreciate people like you reaching out to me and allowing me this platform to be able to talk about ending homelessness where you are, but for me right here in North Carolina.
Yes, absolutely. And also, what advice do you have for individuals who want to get involved in addressing homelessness in the communities, but unsure where to start?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you said earlier about like even the corporations, they don't need to do it themselves. If they need to just find organizations right in their cities where they can help. Every city has a homeless shelter that they have where they can even start there. And those homeless shelters normally work with other agencies like myself, nonprofits that they work in that can help even going and getting your family together to serve a meal, your organization, your sorority, your fraternity, whatever, to serve a meal in a shelter or in some place that has outreach will help you to get more involved and say, well, what else can we do? Where are you staying on the weekend? I think that will also help. I also think, and I want to say this the right way. It's okay to serve the meal, but we also have to do what you and I say. It's like after the meal is done and we've cleaned the tables off, where do these people go at night? And I think that we also have to reach into our pockets and put the $5 and $10. You don't have to do $5,000. You can give $20, and just make a commitment, $20 that I'm going to give to someone who's trying to house people, every year. I mean, just make a small personal commitment to try to help, because all those little commitments will add up to possibly somebody living, in a space. And then lastly, advocate. I mean, there are the North Carolina, it's actually the National Council to End Homelessness. They have like pre-formulated letters that you can send to your local government entities, and you just fill in there. It'll, tell you who your person is, and send them a letter and say, "What are we doing?" Listen in on a city council meeting, and then you just like, look, I'm gonna advocate where I am. One of my friends was like, like you and I talked at the very beginning, it's just such a big problem, Wanda. There's so much that you can do and so much that I need to do. And I was like, you just got to figure out, what's the one thing that I can do? Do I attend my child's PTA meeting and then understand how many kids are actually homeless every night? They're actually the largest group of homeless people is children.
Wow.
It's children. So how many of those kids don't have a place to go? Do you know how many kids get a backpack on Friday full of food and stuff for the weekend? Start with that. Just start with that one little thing. Don't try to bite it all off. Or like I said, attend a city council meeting. I mean, I did it, but I didn't really do it much. Now I'm like sitting in, listening. You don't even have to physically go. I'm listening on the planning commission meeting. I'm listening in on the affordable housing meeting, and I'm writing names down because I'm getting ready to call her. I'm going to call him. This is another person, because I want to know what y'all doing. I want them to know Wanda McArn. So when I come knocking, it's not a negative, but I want them to know who I am.
Oh my goodness, I'm loving this. So now, can you share a message for listeners who are interested in supporting Next Step Development Corporation in North Carolina?
Yeah. So I love to have this conversation with people to let them know that this is a solvable issue. My website is nextstepdevelopmentcorporation.org. nextstepdevelopmentcorporation.org. And you can reach me at Wanda at nextstepdevelopmentcorporation.org. I would take any advice, any feedback that you can give us, as you did about Lowe's. Actually, they're headquartered here in North Carolina. And so, any advice that you want to give, but any feedback or any information that you need for me to help you in your community with what you're doing. I love to share what I've already found, and short cycle what you're trying to do, to give you some resources, because there's no reason to redo it. My goal ultimately is to create some sort of manual, where, or even on our website, where you can go and download it, and here you go. It's not about me. This is how easy it is. Just do these steps. Not easy, but here's all the resources that you need in one place. That's ultimately my goal. But my last piece of advice would be, again, don't try to bite it all off. Figure out what you can do in your community to end homelessness, to not judge that person that you see. And if you got a pair of extra sneakers, give it to them. Don't assume that they're going to take your money and go buy some drugs. And you know what? If they do, that's between them and God. Let the Lord lead you.
Amen to that. So now, all the great work you're about to do, you are already doing and about to make it even bigger. How can we support you?
Mm-hmm. Right now, as I said, our biggest thing is financial support. That's how again, $5, $10, we will appreciate any of that, because all of those dollars are adding up, even though we're not in your community. I hope to be in your community one day. Again, we're starting here in North Carolina, but the goal is to go nationwide with this program. So for me, that would be the biggest area of support, is financial support. I tell people for the past 3 years, I've been paying me. Literally, I've taken this money that I've made and had in a retirement account and said, I'm banking on this. This is what I believe in. That's how strongly I believe in it, is I am saying I'm taking care of mama. I'm the primary caregiver for my 90-year-old mother, and I am banking on this working. And for me, it's not about money, obviously, because I'm not making money. I am giving. but it is, I feel that strong about it. That's how strong that I feel that the day that I woke up and said, it's time for me to retire, I heard a voice say today, I knew that this is guided. There are prayers going out to me from me. I'll take those from your listeners as well. There are prayers going out to me to guide this. And there are a lot of people who saying, I know you well enough to know that you don't embark on anything that you haven't really researched. And once you put your mind to it, you're going to make it work. And that's where I feel I'm passionate, as you can hear about it. Yes. And I'm not giving up. There's going to be some rocky roads and some days that I'm going to be like, what in the world? But I am truly believing that this is my mission. This is my ministry personally for me right now. And I appreciate all of the people like you that are helping us to get our word out.
Thank you so much, Wanda. And what you are doing is, there's no way to explain it, because homelessness is a big issue in the United States, not just in any other countries in the United States. And most of organizations, we leave the country and we go help other countries and forget our own backyard need to be clean. And what you are doing, you are about to help clean that backyard. So I appreciate what you are doing, and I do hope that listeners go to your website and support, because you need the support, and we have to support you to make sure this happens, so that people, rather they have family or not, but they will have a safe place they can call home. Yes. And that is not the big dream, the American dream anyway. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. So let's make it come true for everyone else, not just for the rich or for the middle class. It should be for every single one of us. I appreciate the conversation, Wanda, and I'm here to support anytime you need me.
Thank you so much.